everyone. Happy holidays. My name is Judd Marcello, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for FarEye. Thanks for being with us today on Special Delivery. For those of you that are new to FarEye, we are a last mile delivery logistics platform. We're helping retailers, logistics providers all over the globe make sure that they get packages to consumers on time, accurately every time. And if you're unfamiliar with Special Delivery is a show where we bring in people connected to last mile deliveries. Could be retailers, could be third-party shippers, but these are people that are in the business of creating happy customers through superior delivery experiences. And each month, we bring on a special guest, and we have a fantastic guest lined up for you today. Pawan Kaura, he is the head of e-commerce operations for the Landmark Group. He's going to join us in a little bit. And today's show is a really important one because we're talking about what we call the holy grail of happy customers. And that's making sure that they have a superior delivery experience. But it's not just about their experience. We as business people also need to make sure that we have a profitable, margin-rich business when it comes to logistics around deliveries, because we know today it's very competitive from an e-commerce market. And to be able to get wallet share and mind share, you have to make sure that you are prioritizing the customer experience, and deliveries, especially in e-commerce, plays a massive role in creating happy customers. We're going to talk a lot about that today. And Pawan is going to share some insights from what the Landmark Group does with their stable of very impressive brands in the multiple regions that they operate around the globe. Okay, so what we do here is we usually start off with a little bit of a segment called Ripped from the Headlines. So, I want to, right now, there's so many headlines that we can rip out from what's happening in the industry from an e-commerce perspective or a retail perspective, considering what time of year is. We're on the other side of Christmas now, okay? People spent on Black Friday, people spent on Cyber Monday, and people got all their shopping done for Christmas. Now we're basically in the return zone right now. But nonetheless, this is a really important time of year for many retailers. And coming into this season, the Christmas season, the holiday season, if you will, a lot of questions about how consumers were going to respond from a spending habit perspective based on a lot of economic uncertainty in multiple regions and countries around the globe. We just didn't know how they were going to spend. Now, the projections, I think, were this year, e-commerce spending was going to be down around 2.5% versus last year. And so, I guess expectations were low. And so in order to accommodate that, a number of retailers were getting pretty creative with what they were doing with deliveries, because in the end, the need for speed when it comes to deliveries around the holiday seasons always takes precedent. But consumers have been trained that next day delivery, same day delivery is the norm now, largely from Amazon. But that's all well and good, but what it does is it shrinks margins for retailers. It shrinks margins for businesses, because those high costs of shipping next day, same day, have to be absorbed by someone. So this season, what we saw a lot of interesting trends. One of them was that retailers, instead of focusing on speed, they focused on accuracy. Still a lot of questions around supply chain disruptions right now. Consumers have come to expect, they're actually talking about supply chain now. They've come to expect supply chain disruptions will happen. It will slow down their packages. And what retailers were finding was consumers cared more about accuracy in delivery, getting the packages when they said they were going to be delivered, versus getting them same day or next day instead of speed. And so we saw a lot of very interesting changes to models and how consumers were offered more accuracy in their deliveries. We saw some brands in this article, what it talks about, how some brands are now offering options for delivery, a range of delivery days during the shopping process, not necessarily once you get to the cart and you go 3 steps in and then you choose your delivery day. So they're bringing the delivery, the accuracy of delivery, the range of delivery options up into the shopping experience, so that before people actually decide, I want this blouse, they already know whether or not they can get that blouse at a time when it's very convenient for them or when they need it. So it's very interesting to see how retailers are responding here. And also, once they kind of say, hey, look, we'll be able to get to you in a range of days, what that does is it puts the onus on the consumer to decide, no, I actually want it tomorrow instead of within 3 to 5 days. And yeah, I'm willing to pay the cost. So it's a real challenge right now to make sure that you maintain a superior customer experience, but that you also look to maintain your margins as a retailer. I think one of the biggest, I think the most impactful quote or passage in the article, I'm going to read that here, was the most important factor we found in e-commerce and for consumers has become the visibility of knowing when to expect a delivery, not just a super fast delivery. Visibility is so important. It creates confidence, it creates trust, and it lets consumers know that they have some semblance of control in the delivery process. And if they have that, then they can feel comfortable knowing that the blouse that they order will arrive on time, and they can give that, to their sister for during the holiday season as a gift, or what have you. So that visibility piece is really important as it relates to the customer experience. And again, the holy grail of happy customers, that's about delivering that superior experience, but also, not compromising your business from a margin crunch perspective. And, really, that's why we have Pawan here today. Because Landmark Group, and Pawan's going to tell you all about the Landmark Group, but the Landmark Group, they're specializing, they're focusing right now on superior customer experience and delivering healthy margins to their business. And, their process for doing that is proving successful. And I'm very, very excited to have Pawan here. And I think you'll enjoy this conversation because, Pawan, I'll let him tell you about Landmark Group. I'm about to steal all of Pawan's thunder. Let's bring Pawan and have him tell us who he is. Pawan, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Judd. Thanks for having me. So just to introduce, a bit about myself and, Landmark Group. So Landmark Group is, one of the largest, non-food retailers in the Middle East. We have a portfolio of, 40 plus brands and a retail presence of more than, 2,200 stores throughout the Middle East. We are also present in Asia and, especially India and the Southeast Asia. We are also having a decent presence there. I look after the e-commerce supply chain operations for Landmark Group in the Middle East region, which includes the 6 GCC markets and Egypt. And largely, if you talk about e-commerce supply chain operations, it includes, your fulfillment operations, which is the pick, pack, ship in the warehouse. Then the last mile operations, which is, delivery to the customer. And then if the customer wants to return, bringing it back to the warehouse. And then, some bit around the omni-channel operations, which is deliver from store, click and collect from store, etc. So that's in a nutshell about me. Been in the group for, close to 5 years now, and quite excited to be here and look forward to an interesting conversation.
Great. Thanks. And look, I was doing the, bit of background on your company. Is it 18 different brands that you have?
Yeah, so we have, as a portfolio, we have more than 40 plus brands. But then, we also have the consumer facing, business brands. For example, we are present across, home categories. We have Home Center and Homebox, two of the market leading brands in home. Then we have Splash, which is, into fashion. Then we have Shoe Mart into shoes. And then we have Lifestyle into beauty. So we have, whole host of, then we have Max into value fashion. So overall, we have close to 15 to 18 brands. Then we are into hospitality. So it's a multitude of businesses spent across. I largely look after the retail, e-commerce operations for the retail businesses for the Landmark Group. Yeah.
And is that across all brands? E-commerce across all brands?
Okay. It across all the retail brands, across home, fashion, footwear, lifestyle, accessories, the entire gamut. Yeah.
So you must have been a very busy person in the lead up to this holiday season.
Yeah, so for us here, we have something called White Wednesday, which is a specific sale event coined by Landmark Group, and that runs from mid of November to first week of December. So that is the peakest period from an e-commerce perspective. So yeah, just out of it, overall the numbers, the performance was pretty good. We got a lot more orders than last year. We were able to deliver much faster than last year. Our NPS scores were much better last year. So overall, quite decent performance delivered by the team across geographies, including the central team based out of Dubai. So overall, all in all, quite superlative performance we delivered during this peak.
Wow, congratulations. Sales are up, deliveries got there on time, and NPS scores are up. That's a great, that's a fantastic result. Let me ask you, like, what 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 went into that result? Like, how soon do you start planning for the holiday season and starting to think about sales, fulfillment, and delivery? What goes into the planning and the strategy and the execution for all of that?
That's a very good question. So we typically start 3 to 4 months in advance, where we start by asking the sales projections from the business. And obviously there are iterations and revisions that happen given the the market realities as we move closer to the event. But once we have a broad understanding of the projections, then we start planning our fulfillment capacities in the warehouse, our vehicle capacities, and our courier partner capacities from our last mile operations. And then closer to the event, we start onboarding. What we also, because we are an omni-channel player, so we also try to dwell on the synergies between the brick and mortar business and the e-commerce business, so that overall, from an overall company perspective or a group perspective, we are able to utilize all the synergies possible and keep the costs at a minimum. But closer to the event, then we onboard all the incremental, the additional manpower, the additional vehicles. And then we also have a strict training program, so that the new people or the new drivers who have been onboarded, they are able to scale up appropriately for the event, so that from day one, which typically is the peakest day for the event, we are able to they are able to hit the ball rolling, and we are able to deliver great experience right from day one of the event.
Yeah, that's it there. And I'm sure that's a very complicated process. I mean, the idea of just making sure your operations are tight, but I'm sure you're bringing on additional employees to help out during a peak season, right? So bringing new people in and having them learn a system, your system has to be, I'm sure, very tight, just in terms of how it execute, the enablement of all of that, the use of technology, the understanding of your business. That must be very, I don't know, comprehensive and complicated to put together.
It's apart from operations, on the technology front, we do a lot of, stress test, as we call them, so that we are well prepared for the event. And we not only do it with our internal, tech partners, but also with external partners like FarEye, right? So we do a lot of these stress tests, where we, kind of try and simulate the volumes, and we ask the vendors or the partners also to simulate the volumes that we have for the peak, so that we are ready, that we will be able to meet each and every step of the process. We'll be able to deliver with the same accuracy that we have been doing in BAU. So a lot of kind of pre-planning, course correction, identifying gaps, correcting them before the event, because the more we do before the event, the smoother the event will be. So you're right, a lot goes into it. Yeah.
I love the idea that you're running scenarios. I mean, you're just building the models right now to understand the capacity and the logistics complexity, and being able to flex to that, during the season. Do you find that when you run these scenarios and then you feel comfortable, okay, we think we can handle anything thrown at us? Was there anything that surprised you about this holiday season, from a shopper perspective, or a ability to fulfill and supply, to be able to accommodate all of the deliveries? Is there anything that jumped out?
Yeah, it did. So, while one is the planning we do basis scenarios, then we also do a lot of contingency planning, right? So what if something breaks? How will we cope up? So a lot of that kind of scenario planning also happens, before the peak. But one thing which really surprised us, because this time there was the Qatar, in the Qatar, we had the Football World Cup starting from, 20th. And somewhere around that time only, every year we have been starting our peak sale. So this time we had to prepone, because we didn't know how the consumers will react, right? And because there will be a lot of blockages on the road, because so many people were traveling to watch the matches. So we preponed our event, and to our surprise, while the from a business standpoint, the forecast got reduced, right? Because they felt that if we are preponing it, probably the people will not be in a mood, etc. But we got tremendous response, and we had planned for certain capacities, but on day one only, the orders that we got were tremendously higher. So we had to go back to some of those contingency scenarios, and the teams on the ground were fully responsive. We had to do some alignment with respect to how do we get additional staff to fulfill the additional orders we got. But whatever promises we had promise to the customers, delivery promise, we were able to meet all those promises. So yes, there were a few
Fantastic.
surprises from a consumer side, but I think the preparation that went in for over the last 3-4 months, it helped us deliver well even in that scenario.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like World Cup energy, what that can bring. And, sometimes you have to create scenarios for, weather events or, global economic events. But when it comes to football, you can always count on football bringing a lot of energy. Fortunately for you, it was spending energy. Um, you mentioned omni-channel and brick and mortar and e-commerce. I'm really interested to hear about what omni-channel means to you, specifically when it comes to the different types of fulfillment you have from a delivery offering.
Yeah. So omni-channel, the way we look at omni-channel is that finally it is one business, right? And we have to ensure that we are using all our assets to the best in terms of meeting our demands of customers across all channels, right?
Mm.
So with that philosophy, what a couple of things that we have already done includes having click and collect for our online shoppers, right? Because some of the shoppers might not want the orders delivered to their doorstep, they might want to pick it up from a store. So we give that option to the customer. We give option to return at store also, right? So even if it is an e-commerce order, we'll tell the customer that you can come and return at store, and we will refund the money back to you. Uh, Along with that, what we also do is, because our stores at times are located nearer to the customer than the warehouse, so if we are actually delivering from store or fulfilling the order from store, one is that we are able to deliver faster, but the other also is, from a sustainability standpoint, we are reducing the carbon footprint, right? Because our driver now have to travel lesser distance in that delivery compared to if it was fulfilled from the warehouse. So we do a lot of and while we have come a long way, but there is still a lot that we are planning to do. But omni channel for us is how each and every part of our business works in synergy with each other, so that the end outcome from a customer standpoint gets optimized.
Got it. And it's seamless. Like the customer doesn't need to know everything that goes into it. They just either want to get their delivery or they want to be able to return it in a very efficient, easy way. So I think that emphasis on, what you do behind the scenes in order to deliver that great experience is what makes you a winning organization. It's very interesting. I talked earlier about rip from the headlines. I read another article recently about how this season a lot of retailers were starting to use their stores as fulfillment centers, right? And to do more deliveries out of their stores to maximize any inventories that they have and here and there, and to make it easy on consumers. I think that's another kind of like emerging trend that we're seeing. Let me shift the conversation a little bit. Look, obviously we do some work together in the last mile, and you're using FarEye to help you, I would assume, like build those scenarios, understand capacity. What when you think about last mile as an organization, especially you in e-commerce across all these brands, like what goes into a successful last mile strategy?
Yeah. So see, successful. So typically, as a last mile professional, as an e-commerce supply chain professional, like you had, touched upon in when you were talking about the article. So there are three key metrics or three key areas where we have to optimize. One is the speed of delivery, right? How fast we are able to deliver to the customer. The other is cost. Like you said, everybody's operating at wafer thin margins. So how are we able to keep up with the speed with the right cost for the business? And the third one is customer experience, right? How are we able to also deliver the right customer experience, balancing both speed and cost? Now these three are the three areas or parameters where continuously every decision that I have to take, it's a trade off between these three things. So at times, you if you focus more on cost, then your trade off will be customer experience or SLA. If you optimize too much on SLA, then you will think that, okay, my cost will increase, and so on and so forth. So from a strategy perspective, the first kind of challenge, or the first step is how do you define the right mix between what is the right SLA, what is the right cost, and what is the right customer experience? And then you work backwards in terms of balancing out each and every element of your strategy to kind of deliver the right SLA at the right cost with the right customer experience.
Wow. And I'm sure like this, I can imagine, the different models that you may run or scenarios that show you, hey, here's our range of operation, right? Where we're trying to find if you will, that holy grail or that magic kind of balancing point to get all those things correct. What are some of the, what are some of the inherent challenges when you try to find that kind of like magic balancing point, if you will?
Yeah. So see, one of the challenge that we were facing last year, which was external largely, is the entire macroeconomic situation, right? In this part of the world, especially in the UAE, the fuel prices, went through the roof, and that had a
Mm.
direct cascading impact on the costs and on the last mile cost specifically. Then the other bit, which kind of has an impact directly, is the accuracy of the projections. Now, e-commerce, all said and done, has its own peaks and troughs. Even during a week, or even eh, between Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, the range of variability in order flow can be huge. So, how do you balance that variability and still you are able to maintain the cost with the right SLA becomes kind of a tricky thing, and that's where having flexible models of capacity onboarding helps us in terms of managing the trade-offs, right? And one is around the manpower onboarding, the other is around the vehicle onboarding, and the third one is also with let's say with FarEye's help, we are also able to define some of these trade-offs through technology, right? And that helps us in terms of prioritizing a particular trade-off over the other if a particular situation comes in. So overall, I think these are the some of the key challenges. Finally, having the right data visibility and having the right communication channel to the customer is the closing piece, that even if we are missing on a SLA, how are we able to inform to the customer at the right time proactively, saying that, boss, we know we are delayed, but we will definitely deliver it tomorrow, right? That goes a long way in ensuring that the customer trusts us and the customer will come back to us. Because if the communication is not there, what we have seen is customer then starts thinking that whether we have missed him, whether we are aware that his order was with us, whether we are aware that we have breached our promise, and so on and so forth. So while communication helps us in a reactive way, from a proactive perspective, how are we able to visualize that some of these breaches are going to happen in advance and then take corrective action so that the end promise is not breached? So that is another area which is a key priority for us, where a lot of data analytics, a lot of data visibility from technology side is important. And then how does it flows through to the operations team, and how the operations team is able to consume and course correct? So that becomes very important.
Yeah, look, all of that, the ability to have control over your data is probably the most powerful thing when it comes to understanding those scenarios and being able to respond to customers. It's so funny because earlier in the rip from the headline segment, I called out the one quote there I thought was most impactful, which was around visibility and providing visibility to consumers. Because you're right, like I do it too. I don't know where my delivery is, and you have that little feeling of panic, right? For whatever reason. So it's the relationship between data. If you're you and you have visibility to your data within a platform that helps you understand where all of your deliveries are, route optimization, tracking deliveries, whatever that may be, and then able to pass that visibility on to the consumer, it's probably one of the most important elements of creating great customer experience. Because it just says that you are in control of what you can control, and you're giving that impression of control onto the consumer. Like you said, build trust. Like it is so important. Like, and we hear that from a lot of customers, like data, help us better understand our data, right, through the technology, so we can then, pass that on in a visibility way to our customers.
Absolutely.
Hey, look, you mentioned sustainability before, being able to deliver from your retail shops. Like, how important is sustainability to you? How do you think about that as an organization?
We take sustainability quite seriously, and I think in this part of the world, Landmark is definitely leading the sustainability charter. And when we look at sustainability, we look at it from the end-to-end perspective. So we look at it from a sustainable products perspective, that from where are we sourcing, what material are we sourcing, what our products are made of, how are we able to develop the entire supplier ecosystem also, so that the entire chain is sustainable. Then we look at how are we sustainably inbounding the material in our warehouses, how sustainable are our facilities, how sustainable are our outbound operations, deliveries to the stores. And then finally, even after we have made the sale, are we making the sale are we giving digital receipts to the customer? Are we giving the right shopping bag to the customer? And even after the customer has used the item, we are also thinking of ways of how can we uh, y- do the end cycle more sustainably as well, even after we have sold the product, right? So I think from an end to end perspective,
Mm.
the group is looking at sustainability, and we have a very clear target over the next 5 to 10 years how we want to reduce our footprint and become net zero or even net positive, right? Talking specifically about logistics and last mile operations, I think couple of things that we are doing. One, like I said, we are moving the supply closer to the customer so that we are able to deliver faster and with less with a lower footprint. The other thing that we are doing is, now when we have multiple source nodes, right? So we have stores, we have warehouses, and let's say a customer is ordering one item from a store, one item from a warehouse. Now, whether I ship him as two parcels or whether I consolidate and ship it as one, because when I ship it as one, obviously my footprint is getting reduced, because if I make two deliveries, the drivers are traveling twice. The other thing we are looking at is how we can make the operations and the waste that we generate in the warehouse, how can we reduce it and how can we reuse it, right? uh, so those are the kind of steps that we are taking, and definitely, like you said, the route and fleet optimization that we are doing with FarEye, that is another step. While it helps us optimize the productivity of our drivers, but then also by giving the right route to the driver, we are also reducing the footprint, because the driver is able to make the same number of deliveries with the most optimized route with the least distance traveled. So there again, it has an impact on carbon footprint. So there are a whole host of things that is in pipeline. We are continuously working on it, and like I said, we have a very robust charter how we want to move over it over the next 5-10 years, and pretty delighted to be part of this entire journey.
Yeah, look, it's a really robust, mandate that you have there around sustainability, and we applaud you for that. It's a big topic of discussion, with a lot of the brands that we work with, from an internal strategy perspective, but also, the expectations of consumers. They're more conscious of it than ever. So, I love the fact that you do have that mandate, but also the systems that you're putting in place are ultimately scalable. You have 40 plus brands, right? And you need to be able to apply this across all of them, to create a healthier delivery, healthier planet kind of thing. Look, we're almost out of time, so I want to ask you one quick question. What you just had a very successful holiday season. What else is in store for Landmark Group? What else do you have coming up?
Yeah. So while we have a whole host of initiatives on how we are improving our internal efficiencies, I think I would want to talk more about because our customers would also be looking at this
Sure.
podcast. So definitely we have a lot of initiatives that we are trying around how do we increase the assortment for our e-commerce customers. We are continuously looking at innovative models of sourcing products, and how are we able to expand the assortment. So that is definitely one area where I think customers should continuously keep browsing our apps and websites, and they will be surprised. The other thing that continuously we are striving for is faster delivery, right? So we already are giving same day promise in five of the six GCC markets, but then also there, while we give today up to a particular point in a day, we are continuously trying to increase those cutoffs for same day delivery. And the next thing we are piloting now is how can we have the same speed of delivery on the return journey as well. So how can I give a much faster refund to our customers, right? So that is another area where customers should watch out for. And the last one being on the overall sustainability, like how from an e-commerce packaging perspective, because packaging is something which the customers directly interact with. So we have done a lot of initiatives to make our packaging sustainable. Like on our cartons, we make it from 100% recycled material, but now we are also extending it to other packaging materials. So customers should definitely watch out for some of the innovations we will drive on sustainably sourcing the packaging materials as well.
Pawan, a lot of brands, a lot of businesses preach that they put the customer at the center of everything, and their focus is on the customers. A lot of people just talk. Other people take action. You and Landmark Group are obviously putting customers at the center of everything. That's a great list of innovations and things that your customers and your shoppers can look out for. Fantastic. Congratulations to you on your foresight and your continued dedication to create happy customers. Pawan, we're at the end of our show. We used up all of our time here. This was one of my favorite conversations. Thank you so much to you and to Landmark Group for spending time with us today. And we'll look to have you back again in the future.
Sure, Judd. Quite a good experience. Thanks to you and the entire team at FarEye as well. And look forward to, another catch up sometime later. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Happy New Year. Thank you. Okay, and thanks to all of you that joined today or that will watch this in the future at your leisure. Really appreciate you being here. Just a couple minutes to go. We want to say with the end of this year, thanks to all of you who have been supporting Special Delivery since we started it. We look forward to seeing you in 2023. Have a happy and safe New Year. Thank you.